Hi Bobcats, this is Miss Lee, and today's video lesson is on relative frequency. Please make sure as you're watching the video that you are taking good notes. Okay, frequency tables. A frequency table shows the distribution of observations using tally marks, numbers, percentages, or decimals to represent how often something occurs or is selected. Okay, so this is actually from observations of something happening. If you look down here at these tables, they're about points being scored by different players. The first table down here on the left gives us Stephen, and it gives us the tally marks. So if you'll recall, a tally mark, if Stephen scored 14 points, then to show that with a tally mark, you would draw the vertical lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then every fifth one, you draw a diagonal through the 4. So this would be 5 plus another 5, which is 10, plus 4 would be 14. So Stephen would be 14. Alfred would be 5 plus 1, which is 6, and so on. Okay, then you have it where it can show the percentage. Hey, Stephen scored 28% of the points. Alfred scored 12% of the points, and so on. Or you could be given the relative frequency in decimal form. Stephen scored 28 hundredths of the points. Alfred scored 12 hundredths of the points. Okay, Pete scored 16 hundredths of the points. Either way, what happens when you add the percents together for everybody's percents, you're going to get 100%. All percents will total 100%. Same thing for the points scored. If you add the relative frequency, the decimals together, you're going to get 1 whole, because 1 whole is equivalent to 100%, right? And remember, a percent is, put it in fraction form. Percent is a comparison to 100. You're comparing a number to 100. Put it in a fraction form, part to whole. Once it's in that fraction form, then all you have to do is change that denominator to 100 to get the percent, right? So let's try it. This table shows the results of a survey of students about their favorite summer sport. Okay, so looking at it, it says 5 students chose basketball, 7 students chose baseball, and so on. We're going to make a table listing the frequency in percent form. So again, percent's the easiest way to turn a number into a percent is to put it in fraction form. So we need the part to whole fraction. So let's figure out the whole. For the basketball, there's 5. For the baseball, there's 7. Well, that's 12. Add the 4 swimming, you get 16. Plus the 3 soccer, you get 19. Plus the 2 track makes 21. Plus the 4 softball makes 25. So there were a total of 25 students surveyed. That's our whole amount. So find the relative frequency. Here we go. Basketball. What is the fraction that chose basketball? Well, it is 5 out of 25. Change that 25 to 100 because we want it to be a percent. What's that scale factor? Times 4. Use the same scale factor with the 5. And 5 times 4 is 20. 20 hundredths. Since it's written out of 100, we can write it as our percent, 20%. If we wanted to write it as a decimal, we could, 20 hundredths. 0.20 or 0.2 if you want to drop off that last 0. Baseball, same thing. What is the fraction of the 25 students that chose baseball? 7. 7 out of 25. We want to change that to 100 because we want it to be a percent. What's the scale factor? Well, it's times 4. 25 times 4 is 100. Do the same thing with the 7 and you get 28 hundredths, which is a percent, is 28%. Did you notice something about these two? They had the same scale factor, right? That's going to be the same thing for all of them because the total is 25. The total number of students surveyed does not change. It stays at 25. So each time you want to multiply the frequency by 4. So how many chose swimming? 4 people. Well, 4 times 4 is 16%. How many chose soccer? 3. 3 times that 4 skill factor gives you 12%. 2 people chose track. 2 times 4 is 8%. 4 people, again, 4 times 4 is 16%. You can check your answer by going through and adding all of the percents. 20% plus 28% plus 16 plus 12 plus 8 plus 16, and that's going to equal 100%. That's a way to double check to make sure that you changed everything to percents correctly. Okay, now we're going to use the tables to answer questions. The table below shows the total number of books read by each of 7 sixth grade classes. Okay, I know how many books class 1 read. They read 78. Class 2 read 90, and so on. So the first statement says, we're looking for the statement that is true. The data does not have a mode number of books. Clue word here is mode. So I always like to go through and identify if it's false, why it's false, what it should be. Well, mode means the most. So it says it does not have a mode. But if you go through and look, there's actually 1, 2, 3 classes that read 55 books. That's your mode. So it does have a mode. The mode is actually 55. So that statement is false. It's not what we're looking for. B, the least number of books read was by class 1. Well, the least means the smallest. Class 1 read 78, and the smallest is 55. So that one is also false. 55 was read by class 3, 5, and 7. Okay, 20% of the books read were by class 2. All right, so now we're getting into percents. Again, we need to write class 2, how many books they read, in fraction form. So we're going to have to figure out the total number of books read, which means we get to add all of these numbers together. So if we do that, we actually get 500. A total of 500 books were read. So knowing that, let's look at class 2. How many of the 500 were from class 2? 90. So I'm actually going to write it down here. So 90 out of 500 were for class 2. Turn that 500 into 100 by dividing by 5. And is 90 divided by 5 equal to 20%? No, it's equal to what? 18%. So it's not 20%, it's 18%. So C is also false. And then D, we're going to do the same thing. 17% of the books were read by class 6. Here's class 6. They read 85. So they read 85 out of the 500. Again, we're going to use that same scale factor. We're going to divide it by 5 to get 100. And 85 divided by 5, does that equal 17? Yes, it does. So D was the statement that was true. So a lot of this is going back to the beginning of the school year in Unit 1 when we did our fraction decimal percent conversions and we were able to convert fractions to decimals or fractions to percents. Okay, so I want you to try this last one on your own. Actually there's 2 more. Pause the video and see if you can figure out which 2 colors make up 33 and 1/3%. Remember, 33 and 1/3% as a fraction is 1/3, isn't it? Okay, come back and check once you have your answer. Okay, did you get C, red and pink? If you did, awesome job. If not, let's go through it really fast. Red and blue, add the red and blue. There's 10 red, 23 blue, add them, you get 33. You needed to know the total number of marbles, which is 75. 33 out of 75. Simplify, you can divide both by 3. You get 11/25, that's as 25ths. That's as simplified as it gets, so it cannot be A. Do the same thing for green and orange, add them together, you get 27 out of 75. Simplify, divide by that 3 again, you get 9 out of 25, which is not 1/3. But when you get to the red and pink, you get 25 red and pink out of 75, which does simplify to 1/3. So C was your correct answer. Okay, the last one. The table below shows the number of boxes of a dozen donuts sold each day for 5 days. Which statement is not true based on the data in the table? Okay, again, you got these tables. First thing you need to do is you need to figure out what is the total number of boxes. Total number of boxes was 200. Now, knowing that, go through and see if you can figure out which one is not true. Come back, check your work once you have your answer. Okay, did you get that the statement that is not true is statement D? If you did, awesome. If not, just go through everything step by step. There is no mode. Mode means it occurs the most. Well, that's true because none of the number of boxes sold occurs more than one time. So we're not looking for the true, we're looking for the not true. B, the donut shop sold 5% more boxes on Wednesday than it did on Tuesday. Well, it sold 40 on Wednesday, 30 on Tuesday. That's a difference of 10. 10 out of 200, turn it into a percent, and it does equal 5%. So that's not the one we're looking for. 22% of the donut sales for this week were on Monday. Well, Monday was 44 out of 200. Divided by 2 to get that 100. You get 22 hundredths, which is 22%. So that was a true statement. And 50% of the donut sales were on Friday. We know 50% of 200 means half of 200, which is 100 donuts. And they didn't sell 100 donuts on Friday. They only sold 50. So that was the false statement. All right. Great job, Bobcats.